Hello everyone, my name is Payton Spear and I'm the admissions demonstrator here at the Culinary Institute of America. A little bit of information about myself. I first began my CIA journey in January of 2017 for the Associates in Baking and Pastry Arts. In that time, I did my externship at the Four Seasons in West Palm Beach, Florida. After completing my associate's degree, I decided to come back for my bachelor's in business management, where I spent my final semester in Puglia, Italy for the Italian cuisine concentration. So I'm so excited to get to talk to you today about all that CIA has to offer. Now, as we know, this holiday in February is coming up, and that is Valentine's Day. So for our demo, we're actually going to be covering a really great concept of tempering chocolate. And you see chocolate all around this time of year. But really, it's not just about tempering chocolate, but the process and the thought process that students go through when tempering. Because it's not just about knowing how to do something, but why we're doing it as well. So we're going to go down into the nitty-gritty, the science side, and see how we go. So if you can zoom in here, I'm going to tell you about tempered chocolate and tell you about the different aspects of what we're looking for with our chocolate. We're looking for something with a shine. This is just an example of it, but we want to make sure that we're going through the right process of tempering because there are different ways to do that, whether it is through what's called the seeding method, which is what we're going to be doing today, which is where I would take just a bit of chocolate and melt it down. And this one has already been tempered. But what I did at that time is I took my chocolate, melted it down, and saved about half of that chocolate before, and then replaced it in here. So that way what we're doing is we're agitating these sugar crystals and these molecules, and we're getting them to where they're so tight and there's so much compactness that we get that shine and that we get that snap, just like you do whenever you have a really good chocolate bar. So it's all about feeding it that seeded chocolate and that tempered chocolate to create a larger quantity of it. But that's the biggest aspect whenever it comes to. Now, tempered chocolate does take a bit of time. So I did the process beforehand, but we're going to show you how to utilize this now tempered chocolate with all kinds of different items. So let's get started today with the classic chocolate covered strawberries. So I'm going to start by putting my gloves on because this is a ready to eat food and chocolate can get really messy. And then as we go, I'm also going to explain more about that chocolate tempering process. So with tempered chocolate, you'll learn how to do something like that in fundamentals, but then you'll carry it over for every single class that you go into after, whether it's your cakes and using it for deco, or even in your chocolate and confections class where you'll really go down to the science of it. And it's really interesting because you're learning, like I said, not just how to do something, but why you're doing it as well. And there are different ways that you can utilize tempered chocolate. For example, I have 3 different types of chocolate here. Or 2 different types of chocolate, but 3 different colors. I have our traditional dark chocolate, our white chocolate, and then you see this pink chocolate here. This is actually white chocolate that's been dyed. And the chocolate, the way I dye it is by using a gel-based food coloring. We can't use a water-based food coloring, otherwise water and chocolate do not mix. So it's learning about our different types of products and how to make the most out of them. So for my strawberry, I'm just going to pull back our stem leaf just a little bit, get a good grip on it, dip down, and there's actually an art to this. I'm not going to lie, you're going to go in a swirling motion, down and dip. And I swear, I have vivid memories of this from my externship because at Four Seasons, we did what was called amenities, and chocolate-covered strawberries were always a must. So when you place down, what you're going to do is you're going to move forward, and that's going to keep the front of your strawberry from having what's called a foot. And that's going to make it so you have this more beautiful chocolate-covered strawberry, and it maintains its shape. So we're going to do a couple more like this. And there are different ways that we can decorate them as well. So, for example, I'm going to take this one here, give it a little tap, tap, tap. And sometimes if you know which part is going to be the bottom, you can go against the plate. And for example, I'm just going to roll it in some little sprinkles. And it's nice, you get a good variety, and people can try different things. People can make it match to any colors or events that they may have. Make sure there's no excess, no dip. There we go. Now let's try some of our white chocolate. Now you want to make sure that your chocolate is at the proper temperature. So it needs to be at about 91 degrees, or at least what's called a whisper of warmth, which is your body temperature. So, or sorry, 97 degrees, my bad. But you want to make sure that you have it at the proper temperature, because in doing this, you're going to get the most out of your product. Because if it's too hot and it's not the right temperature, then it's actually not going to be in temper either. So many different aspects that go to it when it comes to tempering chocolate. But once you learn them, and honestly, practice really does make perfect, then you're going to be able to use all of this tempered chocolate for chocolate deco, for chocolate covered strawberries, anything like that. So we're going to go. And for the bigger strawberries, you just go in a circular motion. You try to keep those leaves from getting any chocolate on them. Keep it very nice and clean. Perfect. I know chocolate covered strawberries may seem very classic, but honestly, they're a staple item. Like, you're always going to see them. People are always going to request them, no matter what part of the industry you're in, especially if it's baking and pastry. So it's always good to know how to do it. Also, very important to see is that our strawberries are at room temperature, because doing this is to make sure that there's not as much moisture content in your strawberries. And you can use these for a couple of days prior. You can have them ready, but I recommend not doing it too much earlier after that. Otherwise, the condensation from your refrigerator or the juices from the strawberry are going to come out onto your chocolate. So it's all about knowing your product. Beautiful. One more dip. I'm just going to do a sprinkle of color here. Very nice. And then also we're going to do the pretzels here. And I do use the pretzels because you have that taste of salty and sweet that comes together. So I like to dip it on the side though. I don't like to do the full pretzel. Otherwise, you're not going to be able to really grab onto the pretzel. It's going to make a mess. And that's even why the strawberries, why we keep part of that strawberry without the chocolate, because we want to have a natural area to grab from it. So just making sure that I have all of that excess chocolate. Again, just giving it a nice little scrape on the side. And here I'm going to set it down flat. And this is nice because if we don't have any excess chocolate on our pretzel, then we're going to make sure that we don't have any smudges, and it really does maintain that shape and makes it have a little bit more of a cleaner look. And you'll see that I'm using different colors for all of our products, so that way they tie together whenever we put them onto our dish. Now I'm going to do one with the pink, and then we should be good to go to our next project. So we're also going to teach you all how to save costing whenever it comes to these types of products, because chocolate can be really expensive. Alrighty, one more tap. Perfect. Now, if you follow me over here, we're going to show you how to use these different types of chocolate and utilize them so that you don't have any waste. So, oftentimes you have all this chocolate left over with so much product. What are you going to do with it? Well, for some reason, pastry chefs were able to come up with this great idea of chocolate bark. It's able to be utilized any time of the year, because all we're doing is we're having our tempered chocolate added in, and then you can put any additives on it, whether it's dried fruits, nuts, anything like that, as well as your varieties of chocolate. So I'm going to grab my rubber spatula. I'm going to start by taking my base, which is my dark chocolate. And you want to keep them separate too until you start mixing, just to make sure they're going to maintain that beautiful contrast of color. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to take my dark chocolate. It's got a little bit more of a bitter flavor than the white chocolate. It's not quite as sweet. So that's one of the reasons that I want it to be my base for my bark, because that way it's not too overpoweringly sweet. Here we are. And if you want to with your barks, you can even use them to make any types of varieties. If you want to use caramel in between them and whatnot, chocolate will always be your base cover, but you can always make it your own. So with our chocolate, I'm just going to spread it lightly. You don't want it to be too thick or too thin. So just go gently spreading. A little goes a long way as well. And then we are going to work fast with our different colors of chocolate. I'm going to start with this pink color. I'm just going to go a little bit freestyle. My professor always called it a zhuzh. Just a little zhuzh. And you can add this with a little bit more, a little bit less, whatever you'd like. I'm just making sure I'm getting even coloring all the way through, because oftentimes people forget the outsides, and then it really just doesn't have that color contrast that you're looking for. Perfect. Now I'm just going to add a splash of white. And the great thing about baking and pastry that I love is it's kind of like you're creating your own little work of art with whatever product you're making. Perfect. So now I'm just lightly going to take this little knife, and I want to make sure that I don't go all the way to the bottom. Otherwise, it's going to cause breakage in our bark. So now I'm just going to go into about an 8 motion. I just want to bring all those colors together. And sometimes you can make hearts into the images, or you could do a more designed look, but for me, I really just love the freestyle of it. You want to make sure you don't go too far in, but we're working very fast with what's called a sense of urgency, because chocolate does dry fairly quickly if properly tempered. It'll dry in about 5 to 6 minutes. So, perfect. Now I'm just going to add these little chocolate pearls that I have on some of my strawberries and whatnot to tie it all together. But like I said, any dried fruits, nuts, anything like that would be a really great addition for this. Perfect. Very nice. And so if you look right over here, I have some chocolate bark that's already been made. This one just has the pink on it, but it has those sprinkles for that contrasting color. And I'm going to show you how to cut it properly with it. So really a knife or any type of breakage that you want for it, it depends on what you're looking for. I want a little bit of a cleaner line, but really the great thing about bark is it's very natural. You don't want to have every piece looking exactly the same. So I'm just going to take my knife starting on one edge, making sure that I don't break. Perfect. And then I'm going to come over to this one. Alrighty. And we've got little pieces here and there, but if you clean them up, they look really nice. They've got the natural cuts to them, color. And this is a small piece, but honestly, there's a lot of flavor that goes into this. So it doesn't take much, and you don't want to have the full cut with it, but it does keep them together. So now I'm going to take these onto our tray, and we'll show you this beautiful assortment with just a few ingredients and a few changes in knowledge, or few knowledgeable parts to our product, and that's really going to make the beautiful dish that we have before here. So see what it is? Just the tempered chocolate really does make this beautiful piece, and you can use this for friends, family, or anybody, maybe that special someone. So yes, enjoy.